Soul Simmers, welcome back to a brand new video. This is not just going to be any video, this is going to be an entire series where I show you guys the speed builds of a ginormous build project that I started on my streams. This build project has literally been going on for months. During my fundraiser in November last year for Movember, at one point I had a charity incentive that if we would reach a certain amount of money raised, I would build a big mansion for my moderators. Moderators on Twitch are basically people from the community that help the chat stay safe, help the chat stay comfortable. They help me do commands and stuff, and without my moderators, I would not be able to stream. So I figured, of course, they deserve the most beautiful, biggest mansion where every single one of them will get a nice room, and they have a lot of entertainment areas where they can do stuff together. And that was kind of the idea. That was the initial thought process behind it. We hit that charity goal, which was super cool to see, and my community was all very excited for this project, so we started working on it in January 2025. It's actually been a hot minute since we worked on this on stream because unfortunately, this mod mansion did not come without challenges. And unfortunately, which is something I just want to be completely upfront about, the original mod mansion no longer exists. With some of the Sims updates that recently happened, we actually lost the original file. But for that reason, it sort of became all the more important to actually have this recording and to have these speed builds because in a way, this is the way that the mod mansion is gonna live on. So like I said, we've been working on it since January, and slowly over time, we chipped away at it. We started with making the shell, then we did the landscaping and everything, and basically these speed builds, or the series of speed builds, is gonna walk you through every step of the way. We're gonna walk you through all of the things like the shell and the landscaping in this video, and then we're gonna get into more specifics of the rooms. So we're gonna talk about the common areas where I've made all the entertainment rooms for the mods, all the things that they could do. You'll see me make the floor plan in this video, and then we're gonna walk through every single video, have 1 or 2 bedrooms featured in every single video. And then I would love to tell you guys here on YouTube a little bit more about the personality of my mods and how I integrated that into the build. Because I feel like that in the end was the most important part for me of this build, was to be able to showcase all of my mods' personalities, their taste in interior design, and basically to make sure that it was a project not just for my mods where I could basically give them a nice house in The Sims, but also a way for me and my community and also for my mods amongst themselves to get to know each other better. So as we started working on this, I of course wanted to make sure that my moderators had the most beautiful house ever. And we did a lot of research online to make sure that we could find a good reference picture for a mansion. And let me tell you that there are so many ugly mansions in the world. I did some good research. We looked for a bunch of reference pictures, and there were so many where just me and stream were both yeah, this is really not a vibe. Who would want to live here? We ended up settling for something that I believe is actually a mansion in Hollywood, so that we used that for the outside, but the inside was completely done by our own design. Because the original mansion, I'm gonna try if I can still find the link for it so that I can put it in the description here, but the original mansion had the most horrendous interior design I have ever seen. Obviously, this is a matter of taste, so some people probably think it looks beautiful, but we all agreed that it was very, very, very over the top, and I wanted to make sure that the house that we are building here felt like a cozy home for everyone to hang out together. But the outside was very inspired by it because we just felt like that would fit. If we were gonna go for mansion style, we might as well go for a proper McMansion. Then we decided to build in Del Sol Valley because where else would we build a big mansion where it wouldn't stand out like a sore thumb? So we picked one of the lots that has the absolute stunning view over the skyline, which I feel in the end, when I'm actually making the rooms and adding balconies, and we also end up adding an infinity pool and stuff, it just fits so well. It worked out so well with having the beautiful skyline view in the back. And that was just super fun to sort of have that. It was almost a coincidence that that worked out so well, but everyone kept being so excited about all the rooms we were adding. And then everyone is like, oh, I hope I get one of these bedrooms, because we basically randomized who would get which bedroom eventually in the floor plan. And everything was everyone was so excited about which bedroom would be theirs, because then maybe they would have a private balcony or a view over the city. And it was just such a fun project because over time, it almost felt like this was a real house and we were all excited to move in together. So as you can see, when I'm building this shell outside, I'm actually not using any custom content. I'm literally just using base game Sims tools, some train tools, stuff like that. I even refrained from adding windows and doors and stuff because I wanted to make sure that I would be able to actually upload this to my gallery so that people from the community that wanted to use this shell to potentially also build their own mansion would also be able to do that. However, once the actual shell was in place and we started decorating with doors, windows, like fences and stuff, I absolutely decided to start using CC. It was a really long time since I had done builds with CC, but it's been so fun to get back into CC building because CC, like for anyone who doesn't know, custom content in The Sims is basically content that you can download from creators outside of the game. Usually it's free, and you can just download it. It's a bunch of extra furniture, new fences, new doors, new windows. It's kind of like getting an expansion pack for The Sims, but then for free. And over time, I have amassed a huge amount of CC in my game. And because I'm a creator and I build very often for like challenges that people want to download and stuff, I very often feel sort of, I don't know, not super comfortable with using CC because then people cannot download it, and I feel a little bit like selfish to make something with CC. So I do use it when I'm playing privately, but I don't really use it when I'm building on stream or when I'm building for YouTube or anything. But for this project, I decided if I want to make sure that I can do honor to my mods' personalities, I'm gonna have to actually use CC because there's no way that I'm going to be able to properly give them all their like interests and styles and everything if I'm just using EA stuff. So I end up using a lot of CC. At this point, we are adding archways and stuff to sort of lay out where the balconies or open spaces are going to be. So that means that these things will be in the shell that is up on the gallery. But in the end, most of the doors and windows are not added. I believe I end up using the windows from Moschino, so I think I didn't even go for CC windows, or maybe only a couple, but most of them are just game ones. But for the doors, I definitely used a lot of CC ones because I actually had this one beautiful door that was like really tall, and I rarely build on tall wall height, but we did go for tall wall height in this build. So every single door from The Sims itself just looked way too small. But all of the tall wall height doors in The Sims look like exterior doors. They don't really look like an interior door. So I ended up just kind of using a frick ton of CC for all of that. But I think it comes together very nicely. And I do use a lot of Max's Match CC. So even though it is custom content that is not made by EA themselves, I do feel like it blends in with the game very seamlessly. And it still has that like typical Sims 4 feel to it. Apart from using CC to actually make sure that all of my mods' personalities were like, you know, displayed and integrated properly, I think something else that was a big challenge was that I wanted to make sure that I would have enough space for all of my mods. I have 13 moderators on Twitch, but I also have one VIP that used to be a moderator, and obviously I wasn't gonna leave him out and not give him a room, so that meant that I had to make 14 bedrooms. In a sense, I was a little bit lucky because 2 of my mods are a couple, so I could give them a shared bedroom, but that still meant 13 bedrooms. At one point, I realized that I also wanted to live in this house myself because I wasn't gonna let all my mods have all the fun with all the cool spaces and then not live here myself, so I decided to add a 14th bedroom so that me and my partner could also live here. However, then when I ended up actually making the whole mansion and I started making the floor plan, I realized that I had made way too much space, sort of in the fear of making not enough space. So this mansion ended up being so incredibly big that we end up adding an entire butler's apartment at the ground floor. However, the butler apartment unfortunately will never get furnished because, like I said, we ended up losing the shell of this mansion, or like the build that I worked on, almost at the end of the building process. At the point where there was only 2 bedrooms, a couple of bathrooms, and some landscaping left, that is when the game basically destroyed my save. What happened was that some of the worlds in my save file reset to the default, which means that this world, Delsol Valley, reset to the default and therefore the build was just gone. I did not save it to the gallery in between, which was probably really stupid of me. I just kept on backing up my save files, but even on the backed up save files, for some reason, Delsol Valley reset to the default world, so the mansion itself, the build no longer existed. I just have the empty shell on my gallery, which we are going to use eventually in some of the videos because I promised my mods that I would finish the last 2.5 bedrooms as well, because I feel like they still deserve their room, but that does mean that we're not going to furnish the butler apartment. But so you guys are just going to have to envision that there was actually a butler's apartment on the ground floor, and we did have space for that primarily because I made this build way too big. It turned out so ginormous. I did not realize this was the amount of space that I made. But I absolutely do not regret it because I feel like it is giving mansion so much and it was just perfect. And I love that we ended up adding so much like communal space because we had so much extra space in the house. You'll see me with the floor plan. I realized that some of the bedrooms are also ginormous, like way too big for what I intended them to be originally. But I think in the end, it is all fine because that is again what a mansion should be like. It should feel over the top. It should feel like overly luxurious. And I had a really great time kind of figuring out such a big build because I never do this. Like, I have done big build projects before, but big mansions like this are usually not really my cup of tea because I don't know, when is one gonna commit to such a big build project? For some reason, it's always one of those things that just feel like take way too much time and you get burned out on it, usually way before the project is done. But because it was such a community project and everyone was so excited about, you know, who is going to be the next mod that we're going to build for and what is going to be like our next big project and how is the mansion coming together, etc., it became sort of this like community motivation to actually finish this project as well, which hugely helped me work on it for about 6 months, but also in the end made it extra heartbreaking when the project got lost because it almost felt like we lost like a little part of our community because this has been such a community or like group effort to keep going on this one. Something that did actually require a lot of motivation as I was going was the floor plan. Like I already mentioned before, some of the rooms end up getting way bigger than I anticipated. But I think the biggest challenge with this shell that I created, because obviously, as you can see, the shell is like, it's a big shell. So as soon as it was in, I wasn't about to change it anymore. But then when I started doing the floor plan, I actually realized that it's a very square build. Like the build itself, like the main space without all the bump outs and stuff, is just a really big square. And this is something that I've even said myself in like my builders bootcamp episodes and that I always give to people as like tips for building and stuff is don't make big squares because it's impossible to make a floor plan that is going to feel natural. And of course, what did I do? I ended up making this really big square that just ended up being impossible to make a good floor plan of. Luckily for a mansion, it doesn't really matter that you're going to have these huge hallway spaces that we just end up turning into like living rooms and stuff like that. Because I feel like with a mansion, it doesn't really matter if you have that much common space. But if you actually try to build a house for a family or something that is not like an overly large McMansion, then I can imagine that it actually does not make the most sense to go that route. So I learned my lesson. I will try to not make big square builds anymore. But for this one, we end up making it work somehow. And I actually like the fact, again, that we have so much common space because it really allowed me to go ham with like all the activities in this house. Another reason why I'm really sad that we lost this mansion, because I would have absolutely loved to be able to play in this house, even if it was just for a little bit, because we downloaded like functional custom content to also have like more games in the house and stuff like that. So there were just so many little things that I would have loved to, even if it was just a play test. But I guess that will never happen because I am not about to spend another 7 months. So I'm just going to have to live vicariously through all of these speed builds. And I hope that you guys can come along for the ride because I know a lot of you guys on YouTube don't watch my Twitch streams. So I can imagine that it might be fun to see this project sort of come to life and also feel included and be part of it because funnily enough, my moderators are not just part of my Twitch community. These speed builds are actually edited by one of my moderators. I have one of my mods who very kindly reached out to me at one point and asked if I would be open to working with her for speed build edits, and I am so incredibly thankful. So huge shout out to Lena. I've also made sure to link all of her socials in the description box down below, and make sure to go check her out. She's wonderful, and she also does speed builds herself, and she also plays a lot of The Sims, and it's been really nice to have a team of moderators that go beyond like the regular moderator role and help me out in my content so much. I literally could not do what I do without them. One of my other Twitch mods is actually the editor for the Pack Legacy Challenge, so you might have heard her name Micah before. And again, I could not do what I do without her. I wouldn't be able to upload so consistently on the Pack Legacy Challenge had it not been for her. And I was very lucky enough to like meet both of them through my Twitch community. They both were my moderator before they started editing for me, but it's been such a lovely collaboration, and I'm so happy that I get to meet these people through my Twitch streams and that they are so willing to help out, and that goes for any of my mods, even the ones like don't edit. They are always there to help out on my Twitch streams, keep the community safe, make sure that I don't forget anything, to also be a little bit of a menace and usually create very cursed clips of silly things I say on my Twitch streams. So I think this mansion is they deserve this mansion in real life, in my personal opinion. If I was in a position to buy it for them, I would absolutely love to do that, because I think we would have a great time living here together. We ended up figuring out through this project that we have a lot of shared hobbies, and that like all of us really love to read, and we had like really fun conversations about that none of us are really party people, but that we would love to have a space to still dance together. So that ended up being like a silent disco, and there were just so many fun parts that I'm gonna tell you guys about in all of these speed builds. So if you're not subscribed to my channel, feel free to hit that subscribe button and notification bell. I plan on releasing weekly episodes for all of these builds to tell you a bit more about the vision behind it and the building process and the decorating process. And I would love to show you like, you know, the CC that I've used. I think it's also a really cool feature, or like a really cool showcase for some CC creators that absolutely deserve to, you know, have their praises sung. So I hope you guys enjoy this series. Like I said before, I did upload this shell to my gallery, so if you guys want to check it out, it basically includes the floor plan and everything that you see in this video. Apart from the landscaping, that is, because we did end up adding that to this specific video for like speed build purposes, but it is not included in the actual shell because I actually end up using CC plants and stuff for the landscaping. But if you want to download the shell, like basically the structure that you've seen me build up until this point, it includes the floor plan and everything, feel free to go grab it. My gallery ID is just the same as my username here. It's Rosannatxt. And if you want to come hang out on my Twitch streams to see build projects like this live, obviously this project, we're only going to work on it a little bit more, and I think at the time that you're seeing this, I'm probably done with actually working on all of it. But I do love myself some big build projects. We're going to be working on a book build very soon. I have a shell challenge. I try to do shell challenges about every quarter. And next to that, we also play the Not So Berry challenge, and we play a bunch of other games like Minecraft and sometimes an indie game here and there. I also host co-working streams where you get to work together with me, and as a community, we keep each other motivated and accountable. So there is a lot that you can find on my Twitch stream. So if you want to come hang out, I would absolutely love to have you there. If you enjoyed this speed build so far, because I'm gonna let you guys enjoy the speed build with some nice music in the background for the rest of it, but if you enjoyed the speed build and you're excited for this series, please do let me know. Please toss the video a cheeky like. Please let me know in the comments down below your thoughts on it, and maybe if there's something that you're excited to see in this mod mansion, or if you have any questions, feel free to ask anytime. But thank you all so much for being here. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope that together we can keep this project alive, even though it might not really exist anymore. And with all of that being said, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye, everyone!